Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Monday's edition of the dceu Daily. And I want to thank everyone who's subscribed to the channel, and I want to thank the few people who come into each video for supporting me. Yes, welcome to Monday's edition of the dceu Daily, and don't you forget that you can be part of the show by tagging me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, making suggestions for topics, articles, and I'll also give you a shout out. So let's begin. So WB are planning to split Justice League into two movies and releasing them in movie theaters. Now, how is this possible? Now, I learned this from my source last night. So the plan is to release a color version of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and also the noir black and white version in movie theaters as well. But Zack Snyder's original plan and suggestion to HBO Max was to release his Justice League movie in two parts on HBO Max. And here's an article from Screen Rant. Zack Snyder wanted to release Justice League as two movies released a month apart. Director Zack Snyder originally wanted his version of Justice League to release as two movies that would be released a month apart from one another by Humza Hussein. Justice League director Zack Snyder wanted to release his cut of the movie as two movies released a month apart. Despite it being almost 3 years since the theatrical release of the Justice League, it is still one of the most talked about movies, primarily due to the Snyder Cut movement, which pushed for the release of Snyder's original vision. Earlier this year, it was announced Snyder's cut of the movie would release on HBO Max in 2021, and a visually stunning trailer followed in August. Also, Justice League reshoots have taken place with Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, and even Jared Leto as the Joker. One thing that has, however, always stuck out about Snyder's version of the Justice League, even before the HBO Max announcement, was its runtime. Warner Bros. Were keen for Justice League to be 2 hours, hence why so much of the original version, like Cyborg's Meteor storyline, was cut in the theatrical release. In December of 2019, Snyder shared an image proving that the Snyder Cut existed, and it showed a runtime of 214 minutes, 3.5 hours. However, is that 3 hours 50? I don't know. However, the runtime proved to be even longer, as HBO Max announced that Snyder's Justice League would release as a 4-hour TV miniseries. Now the director has revealed how he originally wanted to release his Justice League. In Snyder's interview with the Film Junkie, he touched on the runtime of Justice League and how even the director's cut that the studio had seen wasn't 4 hours because of their mandate of demanding a 2-hour-long film. Snyder then went on to explain how he had an idea that would see his cut of Justice League released as 2-hour-long movies with a month gap in between. I still think it's funny that movie media now have to resort to fan channels to get their scoops. It's hilarious if you remember how they were saying we were toxic and they thought they were running things. Now movie theaters have gone. It's like we're running things now and they're getting stuff from us. It must be really humbling and embarrassing for them. So this is what Zack had to say. The studio had seen the director's cut, but even the director's cut of the movie was shorter than my cut. Yes, this is my cut of the movie, but there was a cut that I created that I said this is too much for the studio. The mandate was make the movie 2 hours long. I could not show them a 4-hour version of the movie. If I showed them a 4-hour version of the movie, I did have this idea. Maybe we could just split it in half and make it into a 2-hour movies. My first idea was like you showed 2 hours and then there's like maybe a month and then the next 2 hours come out. That was one of my ideas. Do you know what? That would have been an awesome idea. Let me tell you why they didn't do it. Because business-wise and marketing-wise for HBO Max, it's better for people to come in once a week for a month to watch a kind of mini-series of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It just brings people back for an event every week. Now, the 2-hour movie thing would have done kind of a similar thing, but this puts more eyes on the platform every single week for a month. So I understand why they didn't want to do this, but this would have been awesome. The idea is certainly an interesting one, and had this been designed for a theatrical release of Justice League, it would have been interesting to see how the two movies would have fared at the box office releasing so closely together. The 4-hour series strategy it is taking on HBO Max certainly makes sense for the streaming service, as it provides new content and potential for more viewership. As I said, in the interview with the Film Junkie, Snyder also said he structured the story as 6 chapters, so the structure lent itself to the type of release it is getting on Warner Media's streaming service. Warner Brothers will certainly be hoping, Zack Snyder's Justice League, as it is now officially known, proves to be a success, as they have invested a further $70 million in allowing the director to complete his vision, with additional photography that's interestingly added another 4 to 5 minutes of screen time to the already 4-hour-long movie. There is a lot of momentum and expectation behind Snyder's Justice League, but this fault of 2-hour-long movies is another illustration of the journey the Snyder Cut has been on these past 3 years. Yeah. So let's go back. I like Zack's idea, by the way. I think that would have been great. So let's go back to what I've heard. Yes, we know from Zack that he's going to release this. He originally said he's actually going to release this on Blu-ray. A 4-hour cut of it in colour and a 4-hour cut of it in black and white, a kind of noir version. A bit like what they did with the Logan Blu-ray 4K edition, which I've got both versions. And actually, the noir version is the best version of Logan. Anyway, yeah, what I'm hearing is that they want to create a kind of matinee situation with intervals in the middle and everything. So they'll release the colour version, the 4-hour version, and then they'll release about a month later, like his idea for HBO Max, splitting it in 2, and then maybe a month later, releasing it in theatres again, but it's the noir version. Now, of course, I don't know how true this is or how accurate this is or how factual this is, but it certainly would be very interesting and very exciting. And I think we would all go for both versions in the movie theatres. Now, what I've been told, Warner Media are not looking to make $1 billion from these releases in limited movie theatre releases, because they're not all going to be open, either in America or either globally, but it's just to kind of maximise this film to its potential. Because this film, Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, I think would have made around the same as BVS. And I think when all is said and done with what they make over on HBO Max and what they could make with releasing 2 different versions of this movie in movie theatres, they could quadruple what they could have originally made on Zack's version of the picture. So I will keep you updated with all of this, but this is really, really awesome news. Or should we call it a rumour, but a very awesome rumour. Hamza Hussein is back with another brilliant Screen Rant article, this time claiming Jared Leto's Joker was never part of the original Justice League story. Although Jared Leto's Joker is now a part of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the director has revealed he was never planned to be in the original shoot. According to Zack Snyder himself, Jared Leto's Joker was never a part of the plan for the original Justice League shoot. It's been around 3 years since the theatrical release of Justice League, a far contrast to Snyder's original vision for the film. The now famous Snyder Cut movement finally paid off earlier this year when news came out Zack Snyder's Justice League would release as a 4-part miniseries on HBO Max in 2021. The Snyder Cut will restore elements that were removed from the theatrical version, such as Superman's black suit and Darkseid. However, thanks to the project's additional photography, the new version of Justice League will also add Leto's Joker. Leto famously played the Clown Prince of Gotham in David Ayer's Suicide Squad in 2016, but much like Justice League, that dceu project was heavily altered from what the director originally envisioned. This affected Leto's character, as Ayer has revealed a lot of Joker scenes were not included, and so the reaction to his portrayal was quite divisive. Many believe Leto's time as the Joker was over, but thanks to a cold call from Snyder, Leto agreed to reprise his role for the Snyder Cut of Justice League. However, the director has now revealed Leto was not part of his original shoot. Now, there were rumours that he was, but obviously he wasn't. Not that it matters now, does it? But anyway. In an in-depth interview with the Film Junkie, Snyder discussed various topics related to the upcoming Justice League, such as how Leto's Joker came to be involved. When asked if Leto was in the plans for the initial principal photography of Justice League, Snyder revealed he wasn't, and that it's an idea he has boiled on in the years since. Now, before I read what Zack said, isn't it interesting that Zack did an interview with Grace Randolph, but very quickly did another one with Davey Pienaar, the Film Junkie. Now, instead of everyone quoting what he said to her, he's gone over to a fan channel, right, and told him more meatier stuff. And now that fan channel's been shouted out on outlets like Screen Rant. That's great for Davey Pienaar, and actually I'm happy for Davey because I think this is really good, because instead of Grace Randolph getting all the attention, and I'm glad she's not, by the way, I think Davey, an ordinary Snyder fan, is getting the attention he deserves. And I think that's brilliant. No, he wasn't. There was a few things that I had thought about doing, that I had thought about grabbing in post. There was a number of things. I had drawn a couple of them. I wasn't able to do, but it's fine. I'm completely satisfied. This was one of the things that in the years since, I've kind of bored on and kind of said, like, this would be a cool thing to do. I'll be honest, I never thought the opportunity would come. And thanks to the fans, of course, and this whole journey, it's happened, which is insane. It's an insane situation, Zack, but it's a situation we should never have had to have been a part of. This is your movie should have always been released. But that's in the past. Let's keep it positive. It sounds like this idea for Leto's Joker has always been on Snyder's mind, thanks to the benefit of time and the reported $70 million investment from Warner Brothers for the Justice League Snyder Cut. He was finally able to pull the trigger on the idea. Joker's involvement has certainly heightened the anticipation for what already felt like a massive event. So fans will likely have high expectations for whatever Joker's role is in Snyder's series. Snyder teased Leto's Joker will have a different look, and that he's a road-weary Joker. He also said viewers could see a possible Joker and Batman team-up. Interestingly, Snyder revealed his cut is only adding 5 minutes of screen time to its 4-hour runtime. So it will be interesting to see how long Leto will actually be in the new Justice League, especially with this reveal. He was never intended to be there in the first place. A new trailer for Snyder's Justice League will release this coming week, and it's possible fans could see a glimpse of Joker despite the fact he was not part of Justice League's original shoot. So yes, don't forget everyone, tomorrow is 3 years to the day that Justice League was released. Now you need to subscribe to Vero. Zack's going to do a charity kind of stream, trying to raise money for suicide prevention, which is brilliant. I will be supporting that. I will be there. We're all there for the main show though, which is Zack showing us a new trailer, or should I say the same trailer with some additional new scenes in it, and he's going to do a shot-by-shot analysis. This is going to be an awesome event, so make sure you're on Vero tomorrow. Now, tomorrow's Tuesday, so in Europe, if you're in Europe, you're looking at 4 to 6 p.m. If you're in America, you're looking around 9 a.m. and just look at your local Central Standard Times to find out exactly when this is happening. But this is awesome, and I can't wait till tomorrow, which is Tuesday. Isn't it great when we've got lots of Snyder Justice League kind of tidbits to talk about? And it really is one of those days today here on the DCEU Daily. Zack Snyder thought Warner Brothers would stop him from teasing Snyder Cut. Actually, I thought they would have as well. So let's have a look at this. This is by Rachel Labanotti. While gradually revealing more about his cut of Justice League, director Zack Snyder admitted he expected Warner Brothers to stop him at some point. Zack Snyder admits he believed Warner Brothers would tell him to stop teasing his version of Justice League. Snyder helped create the DCEU for Warner Brothers, which began in 2013, with his Man of Steel as one of the key architects of the DCEU. Snyder went on to direct Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and Justice League, both of which laid the foundation for the future. However, it was with the latter that Snyder's plan hit a snag. During production on Justice League, a family tragedy caused Snyder to step away from the project. Warner Brothers then brought in Joss Whedon to complete the film, and Whedon changed much of Snyder's original plans, much to the dismay of the fans. As a result, fans soon began to campaign for the release of the so-called Snyder Cut. Though it first appeared to be an urban legend, their efforts were bolstered by Snyder's confirmation that his Justice League exists. Snyder began to share various images and story teases from Justice League, which further heightened fans' excitement. The Snyder Cut campaign reached a fever pitch last year, thus paving the way for Warner Bros. To approve its release. Officially titled Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut will debut on HBO Max next year. Snyder opened up about the journey to his Justice League's release in a new interview with the Film Junkie when it became apparent that there were people who had an interest in Snyder's version of the film. The director explained he wanted to share things with them. However, he wasn't exactly sure about how much he could reveal, particularly because he expected Warner Brothers to stop him. I finally got to the point where I was just like, well, someone's going to call me and tell me to stop at some point, Snyder explained. The studio didn't, however, and Snyder believes that was for the better because it emboldened him. While there might have been a time when Warner Brothers was wary of Snyder's Justice League, it's clear the studio has been has seen differently now, thanks to Snyder's teases over the years. Fans have grown incredibly passionate about Justice League, and it's that passion that led to Warner Bros. To approve its release. They appreciate what the Snyder Cut means to people additionally, considering how fervent that passion is. It already seems likely that the Snyder Cut will be a success for Warner Bros., even if it's skipping theatres to stream on HBO Max. Maybe not. That likely helped sway the studio. Snyder's departure from Justice League was the result of a terrible tragedy, and it's incredibly heartwarming to see he can now finish the story he always wanted to tell. Even before Warner Bros. Approved its release, Snyder must have been so grateful to hear there were audiences who wanted to see his Justice League. By sharing all the information he did, he was at least able to connect with fans over what could have been. Luckily, though, Snyder can now do more than just share teasers, as Justice League will be unveiled next year. It's been a long journey, and many can't wait to see how it ends. It's not just been a long journey, it's been an emotional journey for fans, but especially for the Snyder family, Zack and Deb, what they've lost, the sacrifices and everything they've been through. Now, I think while we were reading articles about Zack teasing this and Zack teasing that, before they decided to release the cut, right, I think we were all saying, why are they allowing this? And there was a lot of debate. Has Zack got a right to do this legally? Can they sue him? Can they stop him? I think Snyder has some kind of ownership on his version of the DC Extended Universe. I think legally, maybe they could have stopped him. But the question you have to ask yourselves, we have to ask ourselves, why didn't they? Now, I reached out many, many moons ago to Warner Brothers to ask them. Now, I didn't get an official response, but someone did tell me this, that Warner Brothers actually liked the teasers. They thought it was fantastic marketing, and they actually secretly wanted to release the Snyder Cut before it was announced or even before they went to Zack. They felt if they allowed Zack to keep on teasing and teasing, it would build up the momentum. So this is really interesting because apparently this idea was from the one and only Toby Emmerich, the very man that most of you hate. Now, that isn't that interesting. It's time to realise that Toby Emmerich isn't going anywhere, that Toby Emmerich isn't the toxic person you think he is, and he is the one who rang up Zack to tell him that they wanted him to do his cut, to release it on HBO Max. So it's time to forget the negative and celebrate the positive. And this is great because I've always wondered about it, and I did ask away a few months ago, something I've never mentioned on the channel before, but I thought because I read this out, it was time to kind of reveal what they said to me. And I think it's brilliant. And I think Warner Brothers is a different animal now. And I think that's fantastic. It's actually quite funny because I'm still trying to work out how to pronounce this Andy geezer's name on Screen Rant. But we're not going to bother. Although I think it's Bihabad. It looks Russian, the surname. Anyway, you don't care. I don't care. Let's get on with this. Now, the main discussion with the Batman has been, Matt Reeves, the Batman, has always been, where is it set? What universe is it in? And really hasn't been confirmed by Matt or anyone else. We're just kind of theorising here. but it's pretty obvious to see it's in its own universe. So Andy goes on to talk about this, how the Batman can cross over with the DCEU thanks to the Flash. Since the Batman will be set in its own universe, the only way for a crossover with the DCEU is through the Flash, and not just Barry Allen. The Batman will be set on its own version of Earth, but thanks to the Flash, there is an organic way for that universe and the DCEU to cross over. Robert Pattinson will be the next actor to bring the Dark Knight to life in Matt Reeves' upcoming Batman reboot, which is currently in production. While it was initially going to be Ben Affleck's solo film featuring his Caped Crusader, the project eventually evolved into a standalone franchise that is taking place outside the DCEU continuity. Little is so far known about Pattinson's universe in terms of what the other DC characters may live in it, but thanks to multiple set photos, we know Reeves is definitely seeding a new DC connect. Let's say that again. Reeves is definitely seeding a few DC connections. One of the biggest Easter eggs that were recently revealed was the Flash's iconic emblem. That was seen next to a torn poster, this is true, for Goth Corp. It's clear there is at least some other DC presence in Pattinson's world. Even though it's a Flash logo, it's not necessarily Barry Allen that Reeves franchise is teasing. The single lightning bolt emblem is more associated with Wally West. Very interesting. I think it would be refreshing to have Wally West and not Barry Allen in this world. Of course, you could have them both. Would it take two people to open up the multiverse? Maybe. Who knows? Will we actually get a Wally West as well in Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint movie? I think we're getting everything, and I think we will get a Wally West in Flashpoint. We'll have to wait and see, but that would be awesome if they could do that. The Batman will focus on Bruce's second year as the Caped Crusader, meaning that any crossovers between the two universes are premature at this point. But given how much Warner Brothers is now investing in the DC multiverse concept, ever since Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earths, the possibility is more of a reality than in previous decades. With the film arriving in 2022, it'll be a long wait before eager fans find out what kind of DC world the Pattinson franchise is creating. But this is how the Flash can ultimately bring the Batman's universe closer to a DCEU crossover. I'm actually excited to find this out, actually. Come on, let's have a look. Through the popularity of the Flash TV show on the CW, the concept of the speedsters has become more popular in recent years. With the amount of diverse and various members that exist in the DC lore, there are many more options to choose from besides Barry Allen. While Pattinson's Batman may not necessarily be teaming up with any other heroes in his universe anytime soon, that doesn't mean he never will after a few installments in the Batman franchise. His Bruce will be more involved and perhaps be in need at some point to form some alliances. Currently, it's very ambiguous in how some of the Justice League members are like in the Pattinson universe. But that's where the reboot has an opportunity to do something different, including with the Flash. While the DCEU has Barry, the Batman universe could go full out with that Flash Easter egg and have Wally serve as this world's Scarlet Speedster. Wally West isn't scary. Not only is Wally due for a cinematic debut, absolutely, it also opens up the door for a lot of story potential. What if Barry has already been the Flash and thus has passed on the mantle to Wally? Does Barry perhaps not even exist in the universe? And that's how Wally is the Flash from the get-go. The character of Wally would help enable Warner Brothers' design embracing the multiverse concept. And it's entirely as they create different plots and scenarios across multiple Earths. The upcoming Flash movie with Ezra Miller will be Barry's first feature film, and it has been in extended development for over 5 years, but at last things are finally running in the right direction, as Miller's take on the Scarlet Speedster will be going through his own version of the DC's Flashpoint arc. Given how young this Barry is, it's likely that the concept of the Flash family won't emerge for quite some time, since he's still not even experienced enough with his ability to travel between other realms, as his Crisis on Infinite Earths cameo proved. The Flash franchise is possibly and wisely taking its time with developing Barry in the DCEU. A way for the film to differentiate itself from the CW series would be by taking its time in building towards the Flash family. The Arrowverse version of Flash had almost introduced all of the iconic members by the end of Season 4, with only Bart Allen still missing. Exploring Wally in the Batman universe not only gives the DCEU's Barry a way to pace his development, but can also eventually build up to a crossover where Wally and Barry meet from different universes, and that would be awesome. Pattinson's Batman will be very different in comparison to previous actors who have brought the DC icon to life, with Reeves set to focus more on the detective side of the Dark Knight in this Noir-driven franchise. It'll be a new chapter for the Batman on film, as Michael Keaton and Affleck's respective versions of Batman return for the Flash. The cinematic experience has never been this highly anticipated for the Caped Crusader, in addition to Pattinson's upcoming iteration. Even though it's currently a mystery what the Batman world looks like with other DC characters, it'd be a waste of an opportunity not to use Pattinson's Batman in a DC crossover. Naturally, the upcoming reboot will want to take its time to focus on this new take on Bruce as Gotham City's protecting vigilante, similarly to how the Arrowverse built up to Crisis on Infinite Earths, which officially saw the TV and film versions of The Flash share the screen. A crossover with Pattinson's Batman would have to be earned. But by only having him in his own universe and never engaging with the DCEU in any way is a waste for Warner Brothers, and the multiverse potential Pattinson and Affleck's Batman crossing paths, similarly to how Gustin and Miller met in Crisis on Infinite Earths, would be a cinematic accomplishment for Batman. The Batman is already showing its potential in how to build a new DC universe on this alternative Earth, while the DCEU progresses forward with its ongoing franchises. Hopefully by the time the Batman reboot comes out in 2022, there will be a better image of what Reeves is planning to do in terms of larger DC connections. Ideally, those plans will include the potential for the Batman and the DCEU through the Flash, both Barry and Wally, to do a proper crossover. I agree with this. That would be awesome. As I've already said while I was reading that article, I'm very confident that Wally West and Barry Allen from the DC Extended Universe will cross paths. I think this will happen. But Wally West being the Flash in Matt Reeves' The Batman universe is a brilliant idea, an exceptional idea, and I would be so down for that. Look, the multiverse strategy really had its origin with Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, and now it's going to expand. Now, what they're going to do with Flashpoint is kind of expand on that. You are going to see so many characters from different versions and different franchises of DC meeting up, crossing over because of this Flashpoint that Barry's going to create. It's very, very exciting. And I can't wait to at least see a trailer. But first, he has to start shooting. The multiverse strategy for me is such an important, embracing an evolution of the franchise. And I think it's a brilliant idea. And I definitely think Wally West is in the plans. Well, there's been quite a few pictures from Fabian Wagner from the original shoot of Zack Snyder's Justice League, like Henry Cavill in a robe, a picture of Wonder Woman, but not very interesting ones, really. But this one that Ray Fisher posted on the same evening that Zack Snyder spoke to Grace Randolph is brilliant. Now, fans actually turned this into a poster, but look, this is what Cyborg should look like. He looked nothing like this in Justice League. He looked fucking fake, didn't he? But this is brilliant. This is beautiful. This is the Cyborg we want, and this is the Cyborg we want to see in his own movie when he finally gets it, or maybe a limited series on HBO Max. Who knows what's going to happen? But look, that looks beautiful, doesn't it? So today's been a day for talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, but we've got a little bit more to talk about as we go to the Arrowverse. Well, Arrowverse has had 5 versions of Black Canary in Arrowverse, and Andy's been talking about this on Screen Rant, and I think we should go through the different versions. Throughout Arrow's run on the CW, there have been multiple versions of the DC Comics hero Black Canary, as one wasn't enough for the Arrowverse. Arrow may have only had a Green Arrow or two, but when it came to bringing Black Canary to the Arrowverse, the CW series took a very different approach throughout Arrow's run. The creators took an unusual approach to adapting one of Oliver Queen's closest allies from the existing source material. While Dinah, Laurel, Lance and Oliver are partners and a married couple depending on the DC continuity, the Arrowverse drama didn't end up with them together, which is outrageous, by the way. While that didn't stop Black Canary from being part of the Emerald Archers crusade, the way that Arrow incorporated Black Canary wasn't what most Green Arrow fans were expecting, or maybe even wanting. While the comics had at least two versions of the character, with Dinah's mother, Dinah Drake, being the Golden Age Black Canary, the Arrowverse didn't stick to that mythology. Despite Alex Kingston appearing in the early seasons as Laurel's mother, she never had a past of being a vigilante, and instead the Black Canary mantle became a legacy title of sorts. I think they missed that with her mother, didn't they? They should have said that she was a canary as well. Whether or not it was always planned may never be answered, given what happened to Katie Cassidy's character in Arrow Season 4. Instead, for the show's remaining seasons all the way to Arrow Season 8, multiple characters have carried the heroic name. Since Arrow came to its end, it remains to be seen if Black Canary will ever be seen again. Despite putting Green Arrow and the Canaries into development with a backdoor pilot that aired in January, the CW hasn't given any update on the project for months. I think because the backdoor pilot was badly received and the ratings were crap. With the new TV season under the swing, it's very likely that the Arrowverse spin-off has been scrapped. It's always possible the network may develop it for the next pilot cycle, making it part of the 2021-22 TV season. This is every character who has been the Black Canary in the Arrowverse throughout Arrow's 8-year run. Sarah Lance, the Canary. Wasn't she White Canary though? Anyway, while technically not named Black Canary, Laurel's little sister Sarah Lance, Katie Locks, helped kickstart the Canary legacy. Sarah's journey began the day she went on the Queen Gambit with Oliver behind Laurel's back. But when the yacht was wrecked, Sarah almost drowned, but was later taken by Dr. Ivo's crew on the Amazon, where she was forced to work with him. After the war with Deathstroke, Sarah made it back to Lian Yu after the ship sunk, and was at some point discovered by Nyssa Al Ghul, who took care of her while also making her a member of the League of Assassins. During her 5-year training, they got into a romantic relationship, and Sarah became known as Tar-al-Shafa, which means, that's a mouthful, isn't it? That means the canary in Arabic. Despite not being a metahuman, Sarah had a canary cry in a technological form, which she revealed when she first returned to Star City. After hearing rumours about a vigilante archer protecting her city, Sarah knew it was Oliver and thus returned home to keep an eye on him and her sister Laurel. Despite starting as the Canary after Sarah was resurrected in Arrow Season 4, it became a launching pad for her to become the White Canary, as she became a lead on Legends of Tomorrow, where she operates as the Wave Riders captain. Arrow Season 3 started with a massive surprise as Sarah was killed off by Fire Queen Speedy, who had been drugged by Malcolm Merlin. Laurel witnesses Sarah's death, and this tragedy is what begins her journey to follow her sister's footsteps, but in her own way. Throughout the 3rd season, Laurel begins training with Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, prior to going out on the streets to fight criminals. Desperate to try and honour her sister's memory, Laurel eventually realises that she has to do it her own way. And thus the Black Canary was born. Similarly to Sarah, Laurel didn't have a sonic scream as a metahuman power. Instead, Laurel gets the Flash's Cisco Ramon to modify Sarah's sonic weapon into a collar that she wore whenever she was out on the field. However, Laurel's Black Canary journey only lasted for barely 2 seasons before her controversial death. In Arrow Season 4, there was production problems. She had issues with other cast members. They sacked her. And what happened was the fans kicked up such a stink, they had to bring her back as another multiverse version. In the episode 1159, Laurel is killed by Damien Dark as a result of him wanting to punish her after to punish her father quarantine. So let me start again. Why have I got quarantine? Laurel is killed by Damien Dark as a result of him wanting to punish her father, Quinton Lance. Despite being taken to the hospital in time, Laurel passes away by the end of the episode, which was a huge loss for Team Arrow. But during her final conversation with Oliver, Laurel makes a request that has become a key factor in the Black Canary legacy in the Arrowverse. Laurel makes Oliver promise that promise her that the Black Canary lineage won't stop with her, as she wants him to find someone else to pick up where she left off. The next woman to carry the mantle became, interesting enough, Dinah Drake. While Dinah is usually depicted as Laurel's mother in the comics, the Arrowverse did a very different take on her. Even Kingston admitted at a convention that the character she played was Dinah Drake before Juliana Harkey was cast. But in the Arrowverse version, Dinah is introduced in the 5th season when Team Arrow narrows down the Canary search to her. Unlike her predecessor, Dinah actually had the metahuman sonic scream that she gained as a result of a particle accelerator explosion in Central City. After the trauma she went through, Oliver gives her a second chance at life by inviting her to join the team. Despite being hesitant to take on Laurel's legacy, Dinah eventually embraces the title and made it her mission to honour Laurel's memory. With her experience as a police detective, Dinah was a formidable fighter and quickly became one of the most powerful heroes in the Arrowverse. Her Arrow ending came with quite the twist, as she, for unknown reasons, ended up in 2040, the day after Oliver's funeral. In the backdoor pilot for Green Arrow and the Canaries, Dinah explains that she was mysteriously erased from Earth Prime's timeline after Crisis on Infinite Earths. But together with the other heroines, Dinah picks up the Black Canary mantle again to help protect Star City in the future. While Cassidy's character was killed off in Arrow Season 4, her time in Arrowverse wasn't over, as The Flash introduced Earth 2 version of Dinah, Laurel Lance, but with an evil twist known as the Black Siren. This Laurel had gone down a dark path after she gained her metahuman sonic scream, thanks to Harry Wells' particle accelerator. When she first comes to Earth 1, Laurel is working for Zoom, but is eventually stopped by Team Flash. In comparison to her Earth 1 doppelganger, this Laurel was a more experienced fighter, thus far more dangerous version of the fallen Team Arrow member. Once she came on Arrow, it was the beginning of her redemption arc that took roughly 3 seasons to complete. Well, at least it was earned, unlike most things in Arrowverse, right? By the 7th season, Laurel managed to escape her inner darkness and became a hero at last. Despite having posed as her Earth 1 doppelganger, Earth 2 Laurel gets her old costume and returns to her own Earth, temporarily to become that world's Black Canary. In Arrow Season 8, Laurel ends up being one of Earth 2's few survivors after her world gets destroyed in the post-crisis world. The Earth 2 version of Laurel still lived, while her Earth 1 counterpart stayed dead. After Oliver's funeral, Laurel travels to 2040 and restores Maya Queen's pre-crisis memories and forms an alliance with her and Dinah. It's up to the CW now if that story ever gets a continuation in the Arrowverse, as the spin-off's fate still remains an uncertainty. The Black Canary journey may mainly be about Laurel and Dinah, but in the pre-crisis version of Star City 2040, it has gone to a higher level in the Flash Forward storyline that was part of Arrow Season 7. It's revealed that the mantle was now known as the Canary Network, which Dinah created instead of one Black Canary. There were now several of them. The group consisted of multiple young women who had been affected by Star City's fall, that Dinah ended up taking care of and trained into vigilantes. While there were many of them, there was one character in particular that Arrow viewers recognised, at least the Earth 1 version. Having first seen her as a teenager, the future version of Zoe Ramirez, Wild Dog's daughter, was now a Black Canary in 2040. She even eventually became the leader for Canary Network, while still working together with Dinah and other members. Similarly to the early Canaries, Zoe used a sonic device as part of her crime fighting, while still also being a very skilled fighter. Before the Anti-Monitor destroyed Earth 1, Zoe was murdered by the new Deathstroke, John Diggle Jr. In Earth Prime's future timeline, Zoe had never been a Black Canary, nor did the Canary Network ever exist as part of Arrowverse's rebooted continuity. Wow, so that's interesting. I just thought I'd give that a read. That was a bit of a long read, wasn't it? But it's quite interesting because a lot of that stuff I kind of missed out. So, yeah, brilliant stuff there. Will we ever get Arrow and the Canaries? I think the best thing to do with this is actually just bring Amel back and team him up with them. How do you do that? Look, you have to contrive a way for Oliver to come back, right? I mean, he did die twice, but this is Arrowverse. Just contrive something. where he can time travel to 2040. He teams up with the Canaries. You know, it would be awesome. Then you could have the best of both worlds. I don't think Arrow and the Canaries can work on its own. But if you bring Stephen Amell to the mix, that could be really, really exciting. Let's see what happens. I think we may have to wait another 6 to 12 months. But I think Stephen Amell has already hinted that he's interested in returning. And I think he will. And finally today, I answer a fan question from Scott Edwards. Remember, you can do the same thing. Tag me on Twitter @MoviesTVMad and ask me anything, any suggestions for articles or topics, and I'll also give you a shout out. So Scott Edwards asked, Movies TV Mad, I loved seeing Sarah Lance, White Canary, interact with Lois and Clark Kent. Sarah Lance. I love seeing Sarah Lance, White Canary, interact with Lois and Clark Kent with Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I love Superman and White Canary so much. Hope we get to see them team up together in a crossover episode. Would you want to see that? Yes, Scott, I would absolutely love to see White Canary and Superman and Lois interact. It would be absolutely brilliant. But so I don't get your hopes up, I'm going to tell you this. There is going to be nothing like that happening in the first season of Superman and Lois. It's very important that they develop this show, that they put Superman and Lois forward. There's a lot to uncover with the story. I have heard that, and I think it's official, that Batwoman will cross over with Superman and Lois, and I think that's it from the crossovers. But I think very, very important, Scott, that they focus on Superman and Lois and the sons and the family and the characters they've got in that show. It's a very interesting, unique, intriguing concept what they're doing with Superman and Lois, and I'm definitely down for it. I do like different. I do like unique. If I want to see the older versions, I can just put my Blu-rays on or pick up a comic book. But this is something new, as Zack Snyder's Snyderverse was as well, and is. So, yeah, really looking forward to Superman and Lois. I would love a White Canary crossover. Whether that happens or not, you may have to wait for Superman and Lois Season 2, or maybe a huger crossover after COVID is said and done. We will just have to wait and see. So comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.